Hello everyone and welcome to Edison TV. My name is Aaron Atkar and I'm an analyst here at Edison. We're joined today by Carlos Bueza, who is CEO of Oryzon Genomics, a Spanish-based biotechnology company and leader in the field of epigenetics. Welcome, Carlos.
Hi, Aaron. Glad to be here today.
So we're going to focus today on Oryzon's CNS pipeline. And to get started, vafidemstat is Oryzon's lead CNS asset and is being developed for borderline personality disorder or BPD. So before we get into its track record in the clinic, can you give us an overview of BPD itself, including how the condition is currently managed and the potential opportunity in the space?
Yeah, glad to. Borderline personality disorders is one of the well-defined, characterized personality disorders by the DSM-5 criteria. It's a very severe psychiatric disorder characterized by two basic components of the disease. One is the psychiatric components, by which these people have very complex and difficult interpersonal relationships. And the other one is characterized by a very strong impulsivity. This impulsivity is very often channeled through aggression and agitation that might be vocal aggression, might be physical aggression, and very often it goes also in an autolytic component. So these people harm themselves, burn themselves, and very often, sadly, they kill themselves. The rate of suicide is basically the highest in any other psychiatric disorder. BPD is therefore a very severe disease, and it's very prevalent as well. I mean, there are studies that basically calculated that there is 1.9% over the global population, meaning that we will have probably around 9 to 10 million people affected by this disease in the US and Europe. And unfortunately, different to other psychiatric disorders, there is so far no pharmacological treatment approved for this specific disease. That means that the patients are basically treated nowadays with off-label antipsychotics, off-label mood stabilizer, and also some of them, they are following psychotherapy, which is helping in some cases, and in some others it doesn't, but it's certainly not available for the majority of the patient population. So it's a very high unmet medical need, and it's a very severe disease for which the industry has not been able so far to provide any kind of pharmacological treatments.
So the candidate recently completed a phase 2B trial in BPD with the final analysis showing some encouraging results. Could you discuss some of the key takeaways from the data?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, in this trial, Portico was a global phase 2 trial performed in the US and Europe, 211 patients, randomized 1-1, and treated for 16 weeks. These patients basically were tested for the two main components. One was the overall improvement of the disease. The other one was the agitation and the aggression. And as we and the FDA and the rest of the industry, we are cognizant that there is no standard of care or a golden rule to measure the improvement of a patient of BPD under a pharmacological treatment. We agree with the FDA to duplicate the scales for both measurements. So we were having two measurements of aggression, one as a primary, the other one as a secondary, and we were having two measurements of overall improvement, one as a primary and the other one as a secondary. So it was very intriguing, because as we were seeing a better performance of the patients treated with the drug than the placebo in the primaries, we didn't achieve a statistical significance. However, when we were measuring the aggression by the STAXI-2 trait anger as a secondary, we were getting a very strong signal with a very clear nominal statistical significance, which was also corresponding to a difference over the placebo group that was considered to be clinically very meaningful for the KOLs. Similar situation in the other primary, the BPDCL, for the overall improvement, where we saw that the patients treated with the drug were performing better. This improvement was insufficient to be clinically statistically significant. But when we were measuring the same improvement by the other scale, the best, I mean, we were seeing, again, a very strong signal, which was both statistically meaningful and clinically statistically significant, nominally statistically significant and clinically meaningful. So not only that, we also saw a trend in improvement in depression, which is a concomitant condition for most of these patients. We saw that the T-forest plot was consistently favoring all the primary and secondary endpoints to the placebo, to the vafidemstat treated group compared to placebo. And when we did a global statistical test to try to see if this T-forest plot was really meaningful in a global way, we saw that indeed the p-values of the global statistical test of all the primary and secondary were again statistically, nominally statistically significant. So all that was very, very, very interesting, very intriguing in terms of safety, as we have seen in others previously in other clinical trials with our compound, which is very safe and very well tolerated. There was any red flag or any sign of intolerability or toxicity. And curiously, it was also worth noting that we saw a major tendency of not performing self-harming episodes on the patients treated with our drug than the patients treated with the placebo group. So it was only one patient on the treated arm, and 6 patients experiencing these self-injury episodes in the placebo group. So all in all, it was really very informative in an indication where there is nothing approved yet, and where as I said, the industry, the regulators, we are all trying, the academy, we are all trying to figure out how is the best method or the best way to measure the evolution of a patient under a pharmacological treatment in this condition.
That's certainly some very interesting results. And we understand that this was followed by an end of phase 2 meeting with the US FDA, which endorsed your plans to progress to phase 3. So could you tell us a bit more about this, including next steps for the program?
Yeah, no, it has been a very intense period of conversations with the FDA. By the way, we are very grateful because they have been exigent as always, but also very constructive and very supportive. And so we basically had a number of questions, and we think that at the end of this meeting with the FDA, we can say that we are very, very satisfied with the outcome. First of all, we were asking the FDA, well, with this intriguing data, considering that we are hitting the primaries, the aggression and the overall improvement in the secondaries, but not in the primaries, would you think that we should proceed, or we could proceed to a phase 3? And they say, yes, you can. So they could have perfectly said, well, I mean, it's intriguing, but why don't you repeat the phase 2? And that was not the case. So second thing, we want now move to a phase 3. They agree with that. And we want to make a very powerful trial. So this, to increase the power, traditionally in a clinical trial, there is a clear way with you. Basically, you increase the number of subjects, obviously. But the second thing is basically we restrict to a single primary. In the previous trial in Portico in the phase 2, we were having 2 primaries. One was aggression and agitation, and the other one was the overall improvement. Now we want to focus, and we say to the FDA, we want to focus in agitation and aggression because is what we have seen and the strongest signal, and where we think, and the psychiatrists also think that is one of probably the most disturbing symptom of these patients. And the FDA says, yes, you can, I mean, basically carve out and go to the agitation and aggression as a potential label for the treatment of BPD with your molecule. And that was very, 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 very positive on our view. And finally, and this is for us is a huge thing, we were asking them, would you agree that we proceed on this phase 3 on this aggression measurement with the scale that was secondary in the previous trial, considering that this scale is a patient-rated scale? And they say, yes, you might pursue, but you have to do some homework for us. And the extra homework that they have required, on our view, is absolutely reasonable, is achievable, is not particularly expensive, and is not particularly lengthy in time of execution. They were asking us, basically, you should provide us with additional literature data to confirm that the BPD patients are having a good conscience of self. Second, you will have to provide us the psychometric analysis of all the scales that you have done in Portico. We are working on that. This is mechanics, and we don't expect any issue here. And finally, they also request us, and it would be absolutely important that you provide us a qualitative research study on this particular population for this scale, the STAXI-2 trait anger, which is also feasible, is something that the industry has done with a number of scales in other diseases. So we are not inventing the wheel here. We have agreed with them because they requested that we are going to present this qualitative research proposal at the same time or before that we propose the final protocol. And we, of course, we will try to accommodate any of the suggestions that they might have to this qualitative research. But this is something, again, that, as I said, is going to be done in a subset of patients, and is basically something that is being done almost routinely. So we don't expect here also any major drawback. So all in all, it was a very satisfactory outcome. The new trial, the phase 3 trial, according to the Cohen's D data that we got on the phase 2, will have to recruit around 350 patients, which is something that is not particularly huge. And with this and restricting to a one single primary, we think that we will have the power, the trial well powered. So all in all, as you can say sometimes, or you might say sometimes, we think that we have got a home run here on our conversation with the FDA. So we are very, very satisfied.
Fantastic. Taking a step back now, vafidemstat is an inhibitor of LSD1, which is an epigenetic targets. Could you tell us a bit more about the role of LSD1 in conditions relating to the central nervous system?
Yeah, LSD1 is one of the epigenetic chromatin modifiers. So it's one of these number of proteins which are basically changing the shape of the chromosome, the scaffold, where around which the DNA fibers coiled, and making areas of the chromosome open or close to the transcriptional machinery. We know that LSD1 is playing a fundamental role in neurogenesis during the developmental period, and after birth in mammals is also playing a very important role in the maturation and final shaping of the central nervous system, including neuronal migration, axonal navigation, and the final shaping of the prefrontal cortex. Different works done by different groups in the academy and in different hospitals have demonstrated that in some particular neurodevelopmental syndromes, which have a well-defined genetic cause, a well-defined genetic mutation, LSD1 inhibition is able to make a whole phenotypic rescue on these animal models. So pointing out that the inhibition of LSD1 is basically a mechanism downstream by which we can compensate some of the signaling pathways which are basically deficient on these neurodevelopmental syndromes. And this is also giving us a cue on how the mechanism of action might be acting on these large multifactorial disorders. What is fascinating is that we and others, using our LSD1 inhibitor, vafidemstat, or other LSD1 inhibitors, we and others, we have seen that in different animal models at the high functional level produce basically three main phenotypes. One is basically increased sociability in the animals. The second one, increased learning capabilities and memory, the short and long-term memory. And third, very important, reduce or decrease or eliminates aggression. So this is basically what we are seeing in a plethora of animal models with different groups using different LSD1 inhibitors. So really the rationale for the neurological effect is extraordinarily strong, is very elegant. And we have a molecule which is right now phase 3 ready after having treated almost 500 people, some of them for up to 2 years of exposure of the drug to the drug, and not seeing any particularly worrying side effect or intolerability effect.
So we've seen Oryzon share several updates recently on strengthening its intellectual property profile for vafidemstat. Could you summarize some of these key achievements?
Yeah, I mean, it is well known. We have said before that the composition of matter is granted in all the jurisdictions where we have applied, which are obviously the most important, commercially speaking, in the world. But what is also very gratifying is that that we have seen a number of methods of use or different layers of new protection, particularly the use of vafidemstat for the treatment of BPD, the use of vafidemstat for the treatment of aggression and agitation, and the use of vafidemstat for the treatment of other psychiatric disorders, which has been recently granted, or we have received very, very recently notice of allowance, which is basically extending the exclusivity period beyond the 2040 in the most important jurisdictions, with a number of additional years of potential extension term that we will have to see at the end. But this is very gratifying, as I said, because as you know, as everybody knows, to develop drugs and particularly in CNS is lengthy, and you want to be sure that at the end you get a commercial case, which is our case. We have a very clear and strong commercial case. Our estimate only for BPD consider that we could achieve, or our partner, the day that we partnered this drug with one of the big pharma companies, could achieve almost 3.5–4 billion on peak sales only for the treatment of BPD, not including a potential label extension like schizophrenia or treatment of aggression in Alzheimer's and others. So yeah, we are in this regard, we are in very safe grounds right now.
Excellent. So it's looking to be an exciting and active period ahead for Oryzon. Could you summarize or highlight some of the key events that investors should watch out for across the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, I mean, of course, we are basically now interacting with the FDA, so we expect to submit the full protocol of the phase 3 around March, April. So around this time, end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter, we might get the main proceed for the phase 3, which will definitely set the asset ready for starting the phase 3. The company is already doing additional work to prepare this phase 3. It's also well known that we have engaged an investment bank, Greenhill, to help us on finding the right partner, the best partner to develop this molecule and to commercialize this molecule, where we think that we have an extraordinary commercial opportunity. And this is not the reason today, but I mean, we are also having, as maybe some of the audience know, Oryzon is also having a program also around LSD1, also in epigenetics, with a different molecule, different composition of matter protection in oncology, where we are benefiting. We are having the immense honor to have a partnership with the National Institute of Health of the United States, with the National Cancer Institute, and through this CRADA agreement, we are exploring now our molecule in first-line leukemia in triple combination with venetoclax and azacitidine in first-line unfit patients. There are a number of patients which respond poorly to this standard of care, although in general, venetoclax and azacitidine is a quite effective first-line treatment. But for those particular subsets of patients, this combination, adding iadademstat, could be fundamental. We are having this program running in a investigator-initiated trial at Oregon University with some encouraging preliminary data. And we are having also NCI-sponsored phase 1/2 trial in a small cell lung cancer first line in extended disease patients in combination with durvalumab or atezolizumab, where again, the fundamentals, the biology, underlying biology of the mechanism of action, the synergism between our compound and the ICIs is really amazing. And this NCI sponsored trial is including one of the most famous places, the more renowned places in the field, like the Memorial Sloan Kettering Center, the Dana-Farber, the MD Anderson, the Johns Hopkins, Yale University, City of Hope. I mean, just to mention a few. So this is, as I said, a phase 1/2 randomized, which expect to recruit 40 patients. And we are tremendously honored. I'm very eager to see how it goes, this trial. So for those in the audience interested on this other activity of the company, I also recommend to keep us under their radars.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Carlos, for the insightful discussion. We look forward to following the progress of the company and including both of your assets. If our audience would like to learn more about Oryzon Genomics, please refer to edisongroup.com. Thanks again for your time today, Carlos.
Thank you, Aaron. A pleasure.